TimJonesAndSteve.org.
We've met with Trump now, I think it's 6 times. Trump has been fantastic. What you see on TV is what you get in real life. I mean, we spent 6 hours at private dinner with him. It wasn't stuffy. It wasn't uncomfortable. It literally felt like you were at your Uncle Bob's backyard barbecue, but he knew information about my son.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Want a hands-free light that does not strap to your head or held in your mouth? Meet Dex Finger Light at fingerlight.com. The Kryptonite ring fits any finger, pointing light exactly where you need it. Place decoys, handle gear, get close to roosted gobblers, fast, easy, stealthily. 3 light modes, waterproof, extremely durable. Developed by a father and son's Missouri team, Dex Finger Light is faster and easier than a headlamp. Use discount code TONY20 for 20% off at fingerlight.com.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report. This is News Talk STL, the 3 Martini Lunch, and, of course, Common Sense Radio for all of you. And tonight's going to be very interesting, isn't it? We're going to President Trump's Truth Social or tweet or whatever it was. Does everybody get so bent out of shape over every little thing he says? When you look at it a certain way, you'll be able to appreciate President Trump's flair for the dramatic, so to speak. And as long as you do that, then everything is just really entertainment, really. And like yesterday, I still can't get over yesterday. I have not been able to get that drama out of my mind yesterday with the cast of characters in the White House briefing room, President Trump, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, CIA Director, Pete Hegseth. It just is unbelievable. And the dramatics of that story just are mind-blowing. And so I think by now some of these people have to learn that President Trump sometimes is having fun with people. And and listen, by the way, the Mooj is busy talking about rivers of blood flowing into gutters, and you know how these guys talk. It's the language they understand. So it's like biblical type of language. That's all they understand. I want to get right to, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Moore, Unleash Prosperity Hotline. It's a newsletter that you'll get every single morning, and in fact, I got mine this morning from the fine folks at Unleash Prosperity Hotline. Of course, you have more money here, of course, on News Talk STL. So, Stephen Moore, I'm noticing a little bit of an uptick in gas prices. First of all, hello there, and how are you?
Hi, Jamie. Good to be with you. I am doing just fine, thank you. Look, I think, we're going to see high gas prices for another number of weeks, but we all hope this turns out victoriously. The president has told the Iranian leaders that they have got to come to a deal soon, or we're going to probably see more bombing of some of their military facilities there. But look, this has been a disruption to the economy, no question about it. We're probably going to see a consumer price index of about 4% in the next when we get the report that comes out in the next number of days for the month of March. And when oil prices rise, the price of just about everything else rises because energy is a key resource. So that's where we are right now. I am confident that when we're talking, say, 2 months from now, we will see gas prices, $1 a gallon less than they are today. We've got to get the Strait of Hormuz open. We've got to get those supply chains open for oil because there's no shortage of oil in the world today. In fact, we're producing more oil than any time ever in the history of our country. So we'll get through this, but look, this is a rough patch, no question about it.
Yeah, it's funny though when you look at it as in a context, and you can see that during the Biden administration, when gas prices got a tad below $4 a gallon, the newspapers were all celebrating the fact that it was an amazing feat that gas prices got to $4 a gallon, and so the way they're reporting this is like bedlam and the end times. But we all know as Americans what sacrifices people have made for world-changing events, including World War II. And this is just kind of, I think most Americans are like, okay, well, this I'm sure it'll be better next time, soon, so we're going to be fine with it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I hope you're right. I'm more of a non-interventionist, but I do. I hope for the best outcome for the people of Iran and for the safety of the world. We all want to get this situation settled in a way that the Iranians are not the menace to. By the way, they were killing thousands and thousands of their own people mercilessly. So these are not good people. So we will see what happens here. As I said, I think by early summer we're going to start to see some blessed relief, and we're going to get back onto the Trump boom. I mean, that's my frustration is, we started the year on such an economic boom with the stock market, with economic output, with a lot of jobs out there, and things have slowed down a lot because of this conflict. And it's for everyone to decide themselves. I'm not here to answer this question, but do you believe that this short-term pain we're facing is worth the potential long-term gain of having a free Iran and a freer world? We will see.
Yeah, I'm like a lot of people too. I was hoping that we weren't going to do this, and then when we did, I just trusted President Trump's instincts on that. But that was about it. But still, I think we'll see, and we're just hoping and praying for an end. Tonight could be consequential in a lot of ways, and we'll figure that out. In the meantime, we talk about the Trump boom, and one of the things in your newsletter, Unleash Prosperity Hotline, which comes free if you sign up for it every single day, is the America's middle class boom. And to tell you the truth, I actually have talked about this before, that I think a growing middle class, unfortunately, was what some people in both parties didn't want to have happen. I think they like it when there are haves and have-nots because they can basically exploit that. A booming middle class is only good news for this country.
Well, right. And what we were looking at in that report, and by the way, if you want to just go to unleashprosperity.com and you can get our hotline for free every morning. But what we really highlighted was the long-term trends adjusted for inflation with what's happened with the middle class. So if we go back to the beginning of the Reagan era in the 1980s, after the disaster of Jimmy Carter as president, we've seen the average middle class family has seen about a 30 to 40% increase in their after inflation income. Those are very significant. For a lot of families, that's $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 more per year than they did. They were earning at the beginning of this period. So the idea that the middle class is shrinking It's only shrinking in the sense that people who were in the middle class have moved up the economic ladder. Now they're in the upper middle class or in the upper class. That's what we want to see. We want to see a rising tide that lifts all boats. By the way, even lower income people, at the bottom 25% of the income, they've seen healthy gains as well. So we've done this by lowering taxes, reducing regulation, being the freest economy in the world, and we want to stay on that path. But this idea, though, the middle class is gone, and we can't afford things we used to afford. I understand right now things are expensive at the grocery store because of the inflation we've seen, mostly under Joe Biden. But comparatively, we're the richest country, the richest middle class of any country in the history of the world.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. I'm seeing people who are just kind of now separating some of their expenses and figuring out they can't do this, but they can do that, and people still taking vacations and things like that. So we'll see how it all works out. Stephen Moore, I know you're very busy. You guys don't forget Stephen Moore, More Money here on the weekends on News Talk STL. Check it out right there on the website. And also, Unleash Prosperity Hotline is where you're going to be able to get briefed, a morning briefing, so to speak, totally for free. So I hope you had a blessed Easter, and thank you very much for taking the time. And I will just pray right along with you that things are going to settle down, because we were on a roll. So.
Thanks a lot, Jamie. I'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Care.
That is Stephen Moore. Thank you very much. You too. And listen, I know that we've talked about this before, and there's a lot of conflict among some conservatives because we have been in a situation where we talked about non-interventionism. We talked about no foreign wars. We talked about how Iraq was a big mistake, all that kind of stuff. But in talking about this and in settling in on what is going on, I think the argument that this is contrary to President Trump's goal and what President Trump ran on, I think is a mistake, because we have to look at what Iran's role in this world was for 47 years. And unless we want to just simply deny that we had hundreds of American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan killed by Iranian-manufactured IEDs. That's just one example of what Iran has done since the initial attack, which was the taking of the hostages. Soon we had the 1984 Marine barracks bombing. Iran had a hand on that. We had the Khobar Towers disaster. Iran had a hand in on that. Iran, to a certain degree, had a hand in even 9/11, kind of outwardly. Iran has done nothing in this country, and I'm talking about the mullahs. I'm not talking about the Persians. And we're also going to have to figure out what exactly our future was going to be with Iran still around and with the capability of actually manufacturing a nuclear weapon. Iran promised to use a nuclear weapon. Iran has threatened the world. Iran understands that it has a lock on oil and food supply lines in the Strait of Hormuz. And these mullahs are bad news. This is a holy war, as well as a war to preserve the safety of the United States of America, and for that matter, even the NATO countries that don't actually deserve it because they're not fighting for it themselves. But as far as I'm concerned, this is what it's all about. And at the same time, what we have been able to do, which I think is a good thing as well, is we've been able to coalesce the rest of the Arab world. The ones that have been looking the other way when it comes to terrorism and what their people have been, the Muslims have been doing around the world. So there have been many, many consequences of this action against Iran. And some of it is actually pretty good because we're also at a point where we have tested our supposed allies. And most of them have failed the test. So we're actually on the brink of considering leaving NATO, which is something we should have done a long time ago. We're on the brink of possibly leaving the UN, which we should have done a long time ago. President Trump is finally, if you look at his America First agenda, and you look at what his initial goal was and his Make America Great Again and the America First agenda, all of this is fitting perfectly into the America First agenda. In fact, it's almost by accident that more of the America First agenda was coming to fruition, especially as it relates to NATO and especially as it relates to the UN and other things as well. What it has also done, and this is why it's also beneficial, because what it's also done is it's also letting us know who actually our enemies are within the United States of America. And those would be most higher-ups in the Democrat Party and the news media. So Iran and the conflict there has had a lot of payoffs that we're only going to see paying off down the line, and we'll see it happen because this has been allowing us to basically see exactly who we ought to be investing our time in and investing our resources in, and has also allowed us to have, I guess, basically a die pack that explodes. And you know, when bank robbers rob a bank and they have a die pack, they give them a die pack, it explodes, it get red all over them. Well, the war, this particular military war, has been a very instructive die pack for all of us, because now we have the people who we know have the stains on them, and that would be most members of the Democrat Party. It would be the never-Trumpers. It would be the news media. It would be most of NATO. It would be most of the UN. And it would be the ghosts of the Obama administration and others who basically gave money to Iran that they knew was going to be used to develop more weapons of destruction and used more attacks on the United States of America, on Israel, and our interests. And so, you know, I have very little use for the people who supposedly are in our community. Who's that bald-headed piece of garbage who got sued over the Sandy Hook thing? That idiot. He's always been an idiot, but I forgot his name already. Why did I forget his name already? Because the guy is just another grifter that we've discovered, like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, some of these other people who actually used to make a lot of. I don't think Megyn Kelly ever has. I just was waiting for her to finally kind of turn into the monster that I knew she was, and she eventually did not disappoint. Yeah, Alex Jones. Thank you, Paul. But you know, and Tucker Carlson, of course, said that deterioration is bad news. And it's not all. And so we've also been able to kind of see people in our own circles for who they are as well. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, you know, all these people who are always looking for an angle that where they can grift instead of actually taking things seriously and making sure that we're actually doing the right thing. So I think as much as I didn't want this to happen, I was in Stephen Moore's shoes. I was thinking, you know, I hope this doesn't happen because I don't want it to be a distraction from all the regular stuff that's happening domestically. And now that it has happened, it has been one revelation after another. And oddly enough, even yesterday, as we have been able to see, even yesterday, the dramatics of the rescue, although I never would want to have a rescue operation that was dangerous and everything else, the fact that we did, and the revelations from all that, if you it's so funny because I was surprised about the news reporting after that event yesterday with President Trump and Pete Hegseth and John Ratcliffe and Raisin Kane. I was really surprised at the sound bites everybody chose to report. And I know the whole, God is good thing is great. But, man, there was so much more to that story. And that's kind of the problem with the news and with other people is that they're just taking little bites. So I always recommend it, which is why I took it live yesterday. We took it live yesterday, with the exception of a few breaks here and there, because you had to hear the whole story to really understand just how amazing that story was. Because if you left it to CBS News or even Fox News for that matter, you wouldn't even get the whole story. It's much, much better and much more interesting when you hear these guys all talk without interruption and hear the story. So it was really great. Great day in America. So except for the price of gasoline and meat and that crappy lamb I bought at Whole Foods on Sunday. Gee whiz. Wow, was that awful. I'll tell you about that, but golly, it's because I was late. Should have picked it up earlier, but oh well, that's how it goes. All right, you guys. So President Trump appears on the 5, and he once again says, you guys got to get rid of Jessica Tarloff. So we'll follow up on that. And Billy Bush, remember him? He has quite the revelations about ABC News. And that probably won't surprise you in any way, shape, or form. Ladies and gentlemen, as Paul reminds you to, get out and vote, people. It starts on the local level, he says, and he is absolutely right. So we'll keep you updated on how things are going out at the polling places in the St. Louis area, out in God's country and beyond. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Ashland there, and happy Tuesday.
The media.
1019 and 94.1.
They lying about what's going on in America. They lying about it.
News Talk STL.
Newsteaders fine jewelry, and I got to tell you, I saw Diana last week. Just popped in to get a picture real quickly with her because I'm putting together this little video with Lily's necklace, a shell necklace I had made for her at Newsteaders. And that's the real, and so I'm gonna do that in the run up to Mother's Day as it's approaching and everything else. I want to be really out in the big style for Newsteaders fine jewelry. And Diana's great. Anna was there. Teresa's there. Cindy's there. And it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful crew, very knowledgeable jewelers. And that's really what it's all about, too. A lot of places you go to that are jewelry places, a lot of them are basically just salespeople. But at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry, they are jewelers. And they know all the ins and outs of everything they have. They're at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. They're also creators, so you can bring something in like I did. I brought in a seashell from Cabo and had them make a necklace for Lily with the seashell, and it turned out really beautiful. And if you have anything that you want either built from the ground up, or maybe even it is grandma's jewelry that you want reimagined, Newsteaders Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty and Big Bend will do that for you. And it is amazing. The pricing is wonderful, and Diana's there for you as the expert on all things, including the brand new stacker rings, which are really super cool as you're looking towards Mother's Day. And they do have a layaway program there. If you're looking towards Mother's Day, the stacker rings are outstanding, and these are very playful, very versatile with any kind of wardrobe or anything you're wearing, ladies, and you'll love it. Plenty of gold there. Guys, the Bulova watches as you're looking even towards Father's Day. Again, the layaway program is really cool. Or the wish list. Just go there, say, hey, I actually went to Newsteaders Fine Jewelry, honey, and I saw a Frank Sinatra Bulova watch, and it's on my wish list, and you can go ahead and check it out. So it's really cool, very easy. WowDiamonds.com. And the Wow Diamonds part is where they have the lab-grown diamonds as well as the mine diamonds, all exceptionally beautiful and wowzy. WowDiamonds.com. That's WowDiamonds.com.
John Bill Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No.
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
When I have business clients or guests from out of town, I often take them to Cafe Napoli. I know they're going to enjoy any of the Napoli locations. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, next to Napoli C, Napoli Kirkwood, or Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Excellent food and intellectual conversation, if they bring the intellectual conversation. And NapoliSTL.com. NapoliSTL.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Easter had to be heartbreaking for one New York City couple, and so will future days. A mother and father pushing their 7-month-old girl in a buggy when a gunman on the back of a motorcycle just opened fire at a corner. Broad daylight. He fired at least 2 shots, then tried to race away, crashed, but then ran. Left behind in the stroller, a 7-month-old girl dead. Her 2-year-old brother grazed by a bullet. Police say they have the shooter in custody, but while they work on charges, the parents are planning a funeral. Mayor Mondami said, "We need to stop gun violence." Yes, he's making it about the gun instead of the man firing the weapon. There was immediate backlash to his comments, as one critic cynically said, "Too bad we don't have strict gun control laws." New York City does. But liberals won't blame the actions of the shooter. It had to be the gun. Had to be. The mother says of her baby, "I can't kiss her. I can't feed her a bottle. Everything I wanted to do, I can't. She's gone."
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
We've got to get an FBI that is back focused on protecting the homeland.
Every single Democrat has always said that we must never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by the Walner Home Selling Team.
Thank you, Amy, for pointing this out on the show page. Amy says, just voted. Took 5 seconds. Get on out there. You can spare 5 seconds. Thank you, Amy. That is absolutely true. A couple of things that tells me about the 5 seconds. It means that, well, maybe you can add whether or not it was crowded or not, because sometimes if it doesn't take that long, that's not a great sign. I was told that turnout could be really super low, and lots of people just aren't really super engaged, even though the governments are spending their money. The governments are going to be walking away with more of your money if you don't watch out. And certainly the school board elections are super important. And this is why it was, at least in St. Charles County, I wish it was another county as well, having these special elections or so-called special elections along with all the other elections in November is really the best way to go. The spring elections were purposely created for a low turnout and were created by municipalities who were basically just trying to act as thieves in the night when nobody's looking, paying attention, whatever, and having these elections in April because they can steal your money more easily that way. And that's specifically why they're doing it. School board elections just kind of fell into that because for a while there, it wasn't until recently that school boards and the makeup of school boards became so important. In fact, if you just kind of go back to the days of COVID and when we were finding out what really was being taught in the schools and everything else, school board elections became exponentially more important, specifically around 2020 or so. And since that time, they have been barn burners. But again, they're still in spring, and the low turnout is taken advantage of by the people who are the Soros people who have a ton of money to spend, and they just kind of spend it on mailers and all that kind of stuff, and that's what they do. And, you know, and Republicans, I've heard that, well, Republicans don't come out to vote on special elections. Well, you know, some Democrats don't either. So you really just get a select few people who are paid to get out there and who have, you know, vested political interest in it and everything else and are part of a movement as opposed to just kind of a community. And so you're getting that. And then, of course, all the thieves are out there as well. And you know that when I talk to Mr. Stokes from Show Me Institute, they have all kinds of different rundowns of exactly how these, you know, fire districts and how these municipalities are basically just trying to take more and more money. And the worst part about it is our property taxes continue to increase. Real estate taxes, all that kind of stuff continue to increase. And supposedly whenever we want a property tax break or whatever, all these left-wing crazies, and some of them even conservatives, bitch at us because we're taking money out of the hands of first responders and all this kind of stuff. And next thing you know, you turn around, the first responders are putting forth another sales tax. Like, I thought our property taxes were paying for this. Well, apparently they're not. So I think it's safe to say that most of the municipalities and even some of these districts are lying to us about what they need and all that other stuff. And they just keep on taking. There's never any kind of, in any way, shape, or form, there's never any kind of pressure on them to behave and act like normal, average, everyday people like you and me. You and me have to budget. We can't always go and take a shovel and dig up more money out of the ground like these people do. They're shakedown artists. They're crooks. They're grifters. And half of what they spend isn't even, in my opinion, is not in any way, shape, or form defensible. If you ran through their budget, they all could cut their budgets. Everybody knows that, but the government never has to cut its budget. And then when you want to cut taxes, it's all about the argument starts with it's the government's money first, which it's not. It's your money first. But as you all know, with the income tax and what has had to happen with when they take the money out of your paycheck before you get it, you do realize that that's a thing, right? That it tells you that the government thinks, and it's right, that it's the government's money first, and whatever's left over after they take their little so-called share, then you get your paycheck. Isn't that right? Yeah. You're the last person on the list when it comes to collecting your pay. Have you thought about it that way? That you're the last person on the list when it comes to collecting your pay. There are people in line before you to collect the money that you worked for. And they're not doing anything, really. Oh, yeah, I know. You got the sewer district into this district into that district into this district. And so, that's really what's happening. But just remember that in the end, it's your money first. All right. Did you know there was a show called Hang Out with Hannity? I didn't. Would you hang out with Hannity? He doesn't look like he's very hangoutable. But nonetheless, I'm not trying to disparage him. But Billy Bush, remember him? He's the guy who had the video of President Trump on that bus and all that stuff. Well, he's on with Hannity. He has something to say about ABC News that may not shock you, but it still is shocking. This is Common Sense Radio. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
1-800-GET-WINDOWS. 1-800-GET-WINDOWS. The Window World window is an amazing window. It's beautiful. And here's an example. You all know that I do real estate and everything else. And so I go into a lot of homes that have been rehabbed. Rehabbing is kind of in these days, and people do a really nice job. I have to hand you that. I hand them that. And when I go in, invariably, I will see the wonderful, beautiful Window World windows because they are the preferred window of most people who are remodeling. That's according to Qualified Remodeler Magazine and me, who sees it all in living color. That should tell you everything you need to know about how worthy the Window World window is to be in your home. This is a double pane window. It is thermally superior to all of the rest of the windows out there. It looks really super good. And Window World loves this window so much, they are giving you a lifetime warranty on the window. That means parts, breakage, glass, all that kind of stuff. They will give you a lifetime warranty on it. So if something happens to it, you're going to get another one. That's just the bottom line. But they know that that's not going to happen very often, if anything, because these things are strong as oxes. You can demonstrate that when the person comes over to your house for a free demonstration of the window, and you can have that person stand on the window. I have seen them do this before, and that window does not break. Again, double paned and absolutely beautiful. And one of two windows in the country with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. It really is pretty amazing, and I'm so happy they are sponsoring free, common sense, conservative radio. 1-800-GET-WINDOWS, 1-800-GET-WINDOWS.
The party happens Saturday in Troy. Mike Ferguson here, and my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors invite you to the Gobbler Gear Up. It's in the parking lot. Come for the authentic gumbo and crawfish broil, the live music, and over $5,000 in raffle prizes. And all turkey gear and clothing, 20% off. The Gobbler Gear Up is free, and it happens Saturday from 9:30 to 4:30 at Whistle Pig Outdoors, 651 Main Street, and whistlepigoutdoors.com.
This spring, spring into savings with Johnson Heating and Cooling. Rebates up to $600 off a complete HVAC system. And here's the deal. Purchase a complete system and get a free humidifier. Plus, financing available up to 0% for 60 months. Don't miss out. These offers expire June 30th. Visit johnson-heatingandcooling.com. That's johnson-heatingandcooling.com. Johnson Heating and Cooling. Your comfort, our priority.
Colombo and Company.
Tuesday is Election Day in Missouri. Remember to get to the polls and make your voice heard. We'll discuss all the important issues, plus conversations with Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com and Susie Moore.
Live and local weekdays at 2
on Newstalk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Window World, 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Calvin Whitaker says there in city of St. Louis, vote no. Yeah, definitely. Kill that earnings tax. That earnings tax, it is just absolutely criminal what these cities get away with. An earnings tax. When I worked at Channel 4, I'd screw the city out of its earnings tax every single time. Because I would go, and you should screw every tax collector as often as you can legally. But anyway, I voted. I worked downtown at Channel 4, and most of my stories and stuff like that were outside of the city, and so there's a little bit of a loophole in the earnings tax, and if you have to be doing most of your work in the city of St. Louis. And I was like, well, I don't do most of my work in the city of St. Louis. In fact, I do most of my work outside of the city of St. Louis, even though my employer is in the city of St. Louis. And so I would file a refund request and submit an affidavit or whatever that would show that I worked literally like 75-80% outside of the city. And I would get a check every year from giving my earnings tax money back. And very few people knew about that, but I did, and I did it. And Amy Mazzara points out that the earnings tax in the city is taxation without representation. That is an excellent point because, really, honestly, the city could claim that if you're a corporation in the city of St. Louis, that somehow you are you're represented by them. But the reality is representation always meant actually living in said taxing jurisdiction. That's what taxation without representation means. So, they could try to make the argument about that. That's how it goes. Amy says I can claim my day, claim with my days now. I guess you could. You could do whatever you want to do. But that earnings tax is, and not only that, it's so destructive. It's hurting so many. The city of St. Louis, period, because a lot of companies, they're always looking for ways to make life better for their employees. And so setting up shop downtown and then saying, well, I'm going to hire employees and tell them that the city is going to take a certain amount from their check, then they don't want to come here. So so in making calculations about where they want to settle, these corporations and things, say, well, I'm not going to settle in the city of St. Louis because then I have to explain to all my employees that the city's just going to take some of their money for nothing. I mean, technically, you could say, well, we're giving you services. If you have to call the police at work, the police will come. We get it, but we know what you're doing, so we don't really buy all that. All right, last night, Michigan beats UConn, and it was weird because Google News, apparently, when you looked at Google News, they said that UConn was the one that won the game. And Google reported this before the game even started that UConn won. It was really weird. And I don't know how that happened, but if you looked at it last night, you'd see that Google says that UConn is the winner of tonight's NCAA championship in men's basketball. And the game hadn't even started. So it's pretty crazy. And I don't know how that happened, or it just goes to show you can manipulate that all day long. All right, Billy Bush on Sean Hannity's Hangout. Did you guys know that Sean Hannity had a Hangout show? Hang out with Sean Hannity. And it's weird because the Hangout place, his set, first of all, it's Hangout, and it's in neon lights and stuff. I do like Hannity. I just don't watch him a whole lot, but I get it. Anyway, yeah, nice guy, but he's got like this. He's hidden in kind of this basement, and it's got like a souvenir stoplight, with the green, yellow, and red. It's got a dartboard. I think that looks like a pool table. And something doesn't. I mean, all I see whenever I see Sean Hannity, I don't think I ever see him without like a tie on, or it doesn't even look. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm just being snarky about it. But you guys remember Billy Bush. So Billy Bush has kind of come back into the fore. I think he's got a podcast and everything else. And Billy Bush was the one who had that tape, the NBC tape and everything else. But he was also connected to ABC News. And this is what he told Sean about what ABC News did right after President Trump won the election.
Their determination to find something. Yeah. Imagine going around asking that question. Who has something? Who has, there's evil in that.
ABC
even
News
if it's somebody that we don't like.
They had a division dedicated with 75 people in it, because I know the guy who ran the division, which was dedicated to basically getting him.
Wow.
And all the big network news did. I understand all of that. Like, what you can do, they have a voice, and different networks have different.
We get it. But so Billy Bush said that ABC News had a team of 75 people, a staff, solely devoted to picking at President Trump. 75 people. I mean, it's astounding to me, but not really, because we know also that the newspaper staffs all had staffs of people. They had a staff of people devoted to investigating Trump. They have a staff of people devoted, like the Washington Post, devoted to the ballroom. I mean, you talk about fat, especially in the newspaper industry, where you can have staffs of people working on just tearing down one guy. Most people, like for instance in regular businesses, how many of you all know people who have that much manpower towards one subject. Imagine how successful you could be if you were actually building something, manufacturing something, making something, coming up with ideas for something, or what have you. Imagine what you could do. And conversely, when you are basically a team of people who essentially are full of disdain, envy, and jealousy, there's a lot a team of people can do to hurt you. And it's always, we talk about this with technology and with others. If when something is used for good, it can be miraculous and pretty amazing. When something is used for evil that has that level of power to it, it can be just as damaging as the good can be good. And that's where we get most of the media, which is why we have a situation where some of you can hardly even pay attention to the news anymore. It's really, really hard. And because it's, first of all, it's so repetitive, same story all the time. And secondly, invariably, it's negative. And especially in this day and age, and with the people that we have and the politicians that we have. And of course, then you have a place, since these people know the media has it out for the president, that's where people who have an axe to grind, former employees and other people who were just kind of mad because they don't have a piece of the pie, that's where they go, which is why you see these clowns appearing on MSNBC and CBS and all that other stuff, because they all have axes to grind, and the news media is more than happy to help them grind the axes. So that's what the whole industry seemingly is about. Ladies and gentlemen, also coming up just a little bit later on, we got to follow up on this alien thing, because Tim Burchett is back out there again talking about aliens and alien mating. It's crazy. It's Common Sense Radio. Jamal Holmes, welcome back, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, I have returned. I broke a minute early. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. I want to be with you. I'm not trying to escape or anything. Ashton's like, we're not going to 57. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I don't know why I thought that. Well, that gives me more time to welcome back Jamal Holmes, a longtime listener to the Allman Common Sense Radio brand. It's great to see you again, brother. Maybe you just got the word that I'm here. Who knows? And I know you do some trucking in your life, so maybe that's it too. But it's good to see you. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Happy Tuesday.
Spring is here. It's time to tee off at Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge. Experience one of Jefferson County's premier courses, nestled among picturesque rolling hills. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll love the lush fairways, challenging holes, and friendly atmosphere. Make your next round unforgettable at Sugar Creek Golf Course. Open to the public, but you can also become a member. Just log on to sugarcreekgolfcourse.com for more information and tee times. sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, it's Chris Arps. Becky and I recently discovered a restaurant that's quickly become one of our go-to restaurants, Timothy's in Creve Coeur. Led by executive chef Will Mabry, Timothy's serves contemporary American cuisine with a touch of Southern charm. Dishes like pastrami, smoked lamb, and shrimp and grits. My wife absolutely loved the lobster pot pie, and everything we've tried has been incredible. Amazing house-made desserts and over 500 wines to choose from. Enjoy dinner 7 nights a week, plus lunch, brunch, and private events. Timothy's in Creve Coeur at 12710 Olive Boulevard or online at timothysstl.com.
Tuesday, April 7th, your community is on the ballot. And before you vote, you need to know what you're voting on.
School board, city council.
News Talk STL has you covered. Log on to newstalkstl.com for our complete voter's guide. See the issues and races on your local ballot. Know the facts. Make your choice.
I think we need some kind of change.
Then get out and vote. Because local elections aren't decided by millions. They're decided by you.
My vote counts.
See the complete voter's guide at newstalkstl.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump has a gloomy prediction for Iran if it rejects his latest offer of a ceasefire.
The entire country can be taken out in one night.
In his announcement of one final deadline extension last night, the president warned that if the Iranian regime does not accept his offer by 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight, it would face widespread destruction.
Where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock.
An Iran-backed Iraqi militia now says it will free a kidnapped American journalist. Here's correspondent Bernie Bennett.
The powerful Iran-backed Iraqi militia known as Kataib Hezbollah said in a statement Tuesday that it will release American journalist Shelley Kittleson, who was kidnapped from a Baghdad street last week. The group said its decision came, quote, in appreciation of the patriotic stances of the outgoing Prime Minister, Mohammed Shia al-Sadani, without giving more details. It added that, quote, this initiative will not be repeated in future. Kataib Hezbollah had not previously acknowledged that it was the group responsible for Kittleson's abduction, although both U.S. and Iraqi officials had pointed fingers at the group. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Taiwan's opposition leader is off to China in what she calls a journey for peace.
Taiwan opposition leader Cheng Li-wen is heading to Beijing at the invitation of President Xi Jinping in what she calls a journey for peace, as Beijing calls for the self-ruled island to come under its control. The visit is the first by a Taiwanese opposition leader in a decade and comes ahead of a meeting in Beijing between Xi and President Donald Trump, scheduled to take place in May. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Oil prices are rising, stocks falling as the countdown ticks toward that latest deadline on Wall Street right now. The Dow is down by 176 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You're not just overweight, you're in survival mode. No pill or crash diet's going to fix that. They don't address why your body is storing fat. At PhD Weight Loss, they treat unwanted weight as a symptom, a signal that your metabolism, hormones, and stress response need attention. Fix that, and the weight comes off naturally. Call PhD Weight Loss, mention Mike G, you'll get 2 weeks free, and they'll pay for your food. Call 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900, mention Mike G, or go to myphdweightloss.com.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
In and out of the clouds a little bit today, but some peaks of sunshine and a cool day with a high in the mid-50s. Overnight tonight, dropping down into the 40s to near 40 degrees, and with a little light breeze in the morning. That's going to make it feel like the 30s for your wind chill on Wednesday morning. But a warmer day, in fact, very nice. Breezy and mild, partly cloudy and 73 degrees. The rain chances return by Friday. In the KMOV First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
You know, when you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home, too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Common Sense Radio, and a happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. JB Allman here and Ashland over there. I was a little thrown off, sorry, because somebody on the Facebook feed said, Willie Mays, love the tribute. Oh, I know what it is. Is Willie Mays number 66 or something? I don't know. Because I'm like, he died in 2024, so I don't know. I happen to have his baseball card from 1972. That's pretty cool. I'm going to tell you my quick story about the way in which I lost Easter. I lost Easter dinner. Because I actually lost Lily, is what I did. And normally, the girls love lamb, and I love making lamb, and I often make like a rack of lamb. But it was Saturday. I was showing homes all day. I didn't get to the store until Saturday late, and I knew Whole Foods had it because I know Deerbrooks doesn't carry lamb or whatever, so or at least the one near me doesn't. So I went there. The year the Giants signed him. Thank you, brother. Cool. So I went to Whole Foods. I rarely go there, but I went there and they were out of rack of lamb. They had leg of lamb, but leg of lamb was a little too involved. And the girls don't really like the leg of lamb as much. So I got these lamb steaks or whatever. I don't know, with that lamb steaks or something. And I didn't notice at the time. It was like all fat. So I'm like, put them on the grill. And Lily didn't eat it. She's like, this is all fat. I'm like, ugh, you're probably right. Some of it did. But Natalie, I mean, it was But anyway, and that's the last time I buy just a hunk of crap like that from Whole Foods. And it was $10 a pound, which isn't necessarily, I guess, all that much, but it is kind of high. But maybe that's why it was that. I don't know. It was just it didn't work out. I was very disappointed and slightly traumatized by the whole thing. So I want to give you an update from yesterday because this is where we're trying to figure out. I talked about the journalists and the enemies of the country, the traitors of this country. So remember yesterday, President Trump talked about the person he wanted to go after who leaked the story about the missing airman and Dude 44 Bravo. And the identity of that journalist has now been revealed. And the problem with the leak about the missing airman was it put Iran on notice that there was a missing airman. So they basically put it out an APB and put a bounty on his head and all that kind of stuff. And they put him in a great deal of danger. And on top of that, also created the necessity to have a two-pronged rescue mission as opposed to a one-pronged rescue mission. Actually, it might have been two-pronged from the very beginning because you do need some degree of cover. But at the same time, as we were aiming towards the wreckage, as we were aiming towards where we presumed the airman to be, we were racing thanks to this leak, as opposed to just going in, grabbing him, and getting out of there. So we were racing, so it required that much more firepower in terms of the A-10s and all that kind of stuff to fire upon the advancing Iranians as they were making an effort to try to find this airman and take him hostage or kill him or whatever. So not only did it endanger the life of the airman, it endangered more lives, and it had to, because there were more members of the military involved in this rescue mission. There had to be, because of one person, one reporter. Turns out it's an Israeli journalist, and he's come out and admitted to being the first to drop the bombshell details on this missing airman. And President Trump made it crystal clear that this disclosure put hundreds of our soldiers, including the SEAL Team 6 people and all these other individuals, in absolute mortal danger. And it was a real problem. And so this guy came out and admitted. His name is Amit Segal. He is Israel's, he's on Israel's Channel 12. And just Channel 12 was the one that was first to report on the down jet. And then ultimately what happened was the New York Times, the Post, Axios, and Fox News all then started to follow the report because it was based on a report that they saw. So that's one of the other problems, and I've talked about this before. That is one of the other problems with our corrupt news media, is that our news media rarely takes the time that it used to confirm stories with their own sources. That's been something I've complained about for a long time. And I know that at Channel 4, when I worked there and we'd cover some crime activity or whatever, we were forbidden from reporting. And it was commonplace. It was customary that what you heard on a police scanner would not be reportable because it's basically hearsay and has not been confirmed as being true. And you have to be really careful about it, about your sources and beyond. since that time, you fast forward to now, and a news organization can report something, and all that happens is that the other news organizations just say that that's being reported. So now you have Fox News saying, according to the New York Times, even if the New York Times story is bullcrap, Fox News has its own little escape hatch by attributing it to the New York Times. And I'm telling you, that's not journalism. That's attributing a story to another news outlet isn't attribution. Attribution is one of the hallmarks of news reporting, and attributing your story to someone else who is doing the story is not adequate attribution. And I can't believe that journalism has dropped so low as to simply give up some of its most heralded standards, and that's one of them. And they don't even bother to say we haven't independently confirmed it. Some do, but rarely do they say we haven't independently confirmed it. You know why? Because they are grifters and they are charlatans. And their editors are all saying, don't say that we haven't independently confirmed it, because that makes it sound like we're spitting something out that we really don't know is true. And my answer would be, well, you already are spitting something out that you don't know is true because you're attributing it to another news organization and not to any one person. So that whole reason goes out the window. But you know what's happened, though, is that when another news operation reports it, that becomes the fact that the news people are reporting on. And that is not adequate journalism. That's not journalism. And it's kind of like the way that people report on social media. News organizations now routinely quote people on Twitter, for instance, and there's not even a real name attached to it. You have no idea who that person is. But they're always saying, wow, this really caught by firestorm on Twitter and caught this and that. You know, it's like, but that's not news. That's not news. That is basically like scanner traffic. You're just reporting stuff that's being vomited out on the internet without even any name attached to it in any way, shape, or form. So again, you know, am I being too hard on this? Am I being too much of a traditionalist? No. But the fact of the matter is, even Fox News is lazy when it comes to reporting on stories, attributing a story to another news organization, especially when you're Fox News and you're attributing it to the New York Times and the Washington Post, both of whom lie. Some of their stories are outrageous, but they still quote them because they're the paper of record or whatever you want to call it. I'll tell you one thing, nobody props up corrupt journalists more than other journalists. And journalists, unlike police officers, unlike firefighters, unlike people in the military, unlike people probably in your line of work, journalists never cast out one of their own who is corrupt. Journalists never send somebody packing. Journalists never hold fellow journalists up to account. They never do. They never do. And some journalists who are liberal won't hold a conservative journalist out to dry because they're like politicians, you know. They want to be able to reserve their own little kingdom when it comes to pass. So that's really the important part of all this. But man, journalism, even some places where we go, have dropped so far down. And And a lot of that is because management has changed, and management has decided because of competition or whatever that they have to drop their standards down too. It's an awful business. It's probably one of the less monitored, less accountable industries in this country. You'd never be able to get away with the crap that these people pull in your daily life or in your place of work or what have you. It's really bad. And this is really bad too in terms of just how these people operate. And the other thing I've said before, and I don't mean to bore people or anything else, but I spent 14 years in mostly investigative journalism at Channel 4, and I never once used an anonymous source. I think one time I had to hide somebody's voice, like I had to manipulate somebody's voice once. But I wouldn't in a million years ever use an anonymous source. You know why? Because we weren't allowed to. We weren't allowed to. Anonymous sources, can you believe that it's routine for newspapers and everybody else to use anonymous sources in their reporting? I mean, could you ever just try to use an analogy to maybe a line of work that you're in, and whether or not your boss, or if you're the boss, whether or not you'd be okay with somebody in your employ basically basing an entire project or whatever they're doing on something that you don't know exists? You'd never be able to do it. And half the time, and I will tell you this because I'm almost sure of it, that most anonymous sources are just fake anyway. They're made up. You could do anything with an anonymous source. And then when it turns out it's not true, there's never any correction or whatever else. And Kathleen points out, yeah, it's called gossip. It is. Anyway, back to this clown, Amit Segal. He's a high-profile political commentator, and he's an anchor. And he went on this Telegram channel yesterday after President Trump had said that and acknowledged his role in publishing the initial scoop about the downed U.S. fighter pilot. And he wrote this. He says, Trump, we didn't talk about the first one we rescued, and then someone leaked something about the navigator. We're going to find whoever leaked it, whoever it is. We'll manage to track them down through the network that published it. We'll ask for the leaker. We'll say it's national security, and therefore it could end up in prison. That was a quotation that this Siegel clown put up there. And he says, as you may recall, this was first published here. And basically, he said, I'm going to protect my sources. I will protect my sources. And what's crazy is that he's a close ally of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party. And so it's an Israeli. Can you believe that? Through all that we're helping these people and everything else, defend them against these terrorists in Iran, and they jeopardize the lives of quite possibly hundreds of American soldiers. Unbelievable, not to mention the airmen. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. So this Congressman Burchett is doubling down on the alien mating with kidnapped waiters stories. I'm not kidding you. And no one's talking about it, really. He's just saying it. Everybody's kind of like, ho-hum. It's like, really? So I'll follow up on that with you as we pray for the safe return of our Artemis 2 folks. And plus, there's a really cool dude on there, if you haven't realized it already. They're all cool, but this guy's pretty cool. So I'll follow up on that with you on the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, when it comes to your sleep, you need sleep, my friends. Better sleep, better life. That's what it's all about. And I am telling you, when it comes to Dr. Ojal and his team, they're going to make sure that your sleep is the absolute best it can possibly be, because it absolutely needs to be. Now, I have heard stories of people who, and I've been there, done that, we're all like, oh, sleep is for sissies. Or people say, I'll sleep when I die. It's like, nah, because the reality is you got to be healthy. You got to be able to kind of put your projects together, stay on task, be involved, not fall asleep at stoplights, all that kind of stuff. And you need to just basically make sure that that you're healthy. And sleep, when you're getting good sleep, it leads to a healthier life. And that's just what it's all about with the Clayton Sleep Institute. Let's talk about sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is sometimes otherwise known as snoring, but the reality is it's, you see it in cartoons. Oh, snoring. Well, the reality is snoring is dangerous, this kind of snoring, because your breathing is stopping at a certain point in the night over and over again. And while you might think you're getting 8 hours of sleep, the reality is you're not. You're not getting 8 hours of sleep. And so that's why people tend to kind of fall asleep at stoplights, or they're face planting in their lunch spaghetti or what have you, or you're not finishing your third martini because you're too darn tired, right? That's how it goes. Clayton Sleep Institute, ClaytonSleep.com. They have their little boutique hotel-like examination places, so you spend the night there, and they monitor you all night long, which is really super cool. And, of course, they deal with pediatric sleep problems as well, so you're going to really appreciate what they do for you on that level as well. So check it out. They're strong supporters and longtime supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio. ClaytonSleep.com, ClaytonSleep.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Freddy's Market, Iron Bear Customs, and STL Windows and Doors. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book sure is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
It's a pretty simple concept.
It is clear to me.
Let me make this clear.
Big events.
Your news and your opinions.
We're going to get out there and be heard.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Our voices are never heard in the media. We, the people, will always find a way.
And it's about time that we start putting up or shutting up.
Yeah, and you should come. You should listen to many voices.
1019 and 94.1.
Their phone lines have surely been burning up.
News Talk STL. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. The Allman Report, sponsored by Gemini Wealth Group.
Look, we're in space, people. Oh, there's the moon. I see the continent of Africa. The Indian Ocean. We're slingshotting around this beast. We're out of communication because the moon's behind the sun. Or the Earth's behind the moon. I don't know what it was. Something took the Artemis 2 astronauts out of communication with home base for like 45 minutes yesterday. I do believe it was I might get it backwards. I think it was the Earth behind the moon, or the moon in front of the Earth. I don't know. All I know is that they actually liked the 45 minutes that they had by themselves, where they had no communication at all with the Earth. I heard an astronaut who was interviewed about it last night, and the astronaut said, yeah, whenever that happens, and it does happen sometimes, we like it. It's kind of like when mom's not home, you know. So even though it could be scary, and no single signal behind the moons. Thank you, Greg. Corel Roofing. I know you're not the Corel Roofing guy, but that's the family, because you're an amazing family. So, Dark Side of the Moon. That's right. That's where they did not get the communication. So it was really super cool. But they were like, wow, it was really kind of one of those things where it was just us and space. And that was pretty much it. We couldn't talk to anybody but each other and whatever. Kathleen Murphy, who is one of my friends, and she listens to the show, and she turned me on to one of these astronauts. His name is Victor Glover, who, I mean, it's interesting. We didn't really, I don't really know much about these astronauts, which is kind of interesting. And I think it's a measure of, and maybe you guys do, because you've searched it out, whatever. It hasn't necessarily just kind of come to us, and maybe it'll come afterwards. But I think the fact that we really don't know much about them is a pretty good reflection of basically, in this culture and our media culture, who's important and who isn't. What kind of achievements are intriguing and what kind of achievements are not. And it's really interesting during this period of time. And I know a lot's going on, right? Because we have the war with Iran, all that kind of stuff. So I get it. But it's interesting how you see more of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries than you do astronauts, people who are doing something actually really consequential and worthwhile and truly reflecting the American experience and the American dream exploration and new discoveries and everything else. And, we're too focused on this celebrity or that celebrity or what that bald fat dude said. Who is his name again? Oh, Alex Jones. What he has to say. And we're not paying attention to the right things, although some of you are, and that's what I think is special about our crew, is that I feel like we appreciate other things other than just simply the media vernacular and what's important here and what's important there. So I like the fact that you all are paying attention to things, and sometimes I'm not. So, I don't know. How do you use an astronaut to divide people? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. But anyway, I just find it kind of interesting how these people aren't like American heroes. And I think they are to a lot of you, which I think is fine. Anyway, Kathleen and I'm sure others were paying close attention to Victor Glover because he is recorded here sharing Christ's teachings during the lunar flyby.
Remind you of one of the most important mysteries there on earth, and that's love. Christ said in response to what was the greatest command, that it was to love God with all that you are. And he also, being a great teacher, said the second is equal to it, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself. And so, as we prepare to go out of radio communication, we're still to feel your love from Earth, and to all of you down there on Earth and around Earth, we love you from the moon.
Wow. I mean, that just is...
Houston copies. We'll see you on the other side.
We will see you on the other side.
And it's so amazing. It seems like it's almost to the point where it's almost as intriguing to me as the one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind line.
Have you looked at your credit card statement?
No, I haven't. You're an ad. Shut up. But it's just really amazing. And then when you think about it, and you think about how many people have actually been into space, and if you could imagine these four people being in space and what that must be like to be up there, and how and really in the end how you could not. It's kind of like I feel when I eat a tomato that I grew in my garden, or I see a baby, or you just see life itself and or the stars, and you think to yourself, how could you possibly not believe that there is a God? That God exists, that God ordered the world just the way even it's reported in the Bible. But whatever. What I'm saying is, one of the things I love about actually all of these things I just mentioned there, or, for instance, being on a beach and seeing this ocean and this vast ocean, because the Earth is mostly ocean. And you think to yourself, wow, one of the things I love about witnessing those kinds of things, either a baby being born, a tomato, a piece of fruit, a piece of vegetable I grew in my garden from a little plant, or the stars, or you see this trip that Artemis 2 is taking, whatever, or you see this vast ocean, or even for that matter, the moon, or the sun rising and everything else, I always love to, it makes you feel small. At least I hope it does. Because, and that is really, in my opinion, because we all know that God loves us, and we all know that God provides and takes care of us, but we have to be connected to God to be connected to what he can do for us. God's not going to hunt you down to try to convince you this or that. We are always, God loves it when we need him. And so these things are all, I think, messages from God that we are small and that we ultimately are dust in the wind and that we are important and loved. But when you see all these other things, it really makes you realize how, A, small you are, B, basically in the world arrangement, how unimportant you are to a certain degree. And that's not a negative thing, but just that you are part of something as opposed to be lording over something. And that's really should be a lesson. Because, I mean, golly, you see a star or a tomato or a baby or the moon or whatever, and you're like, dag. I thought I was special when I looked in the mirror today. Well, you are. But there's another mirror out there, and that would be those things I just mentioned, because that should tell you exactly who you are and what you are in the world and where you are in God's sight, because you're part of it all. And I can't imagine being an astronaut up in space like that, and just and what you see is not, I'm sure you're not, I'm an astronaut and I'm in space. You're saying, oh my Lord, look at this universe. Where did this come from? How did this happen? How come the earth isn't like falling someplace or whatever? Or when you look at the ocean, you ever wonder, like when I was a kid, I was like, how come it doesn't like cover everything? You know what I mean? Oh, it's because of the gravity of the moon and everything else. It's the only thing keeping the ocean from continuing on. Which is, if I was an ocean, that's what I would do. I'd be like, no, I'm going to take Alabama, Texas, Florida, but it keeps it right there at bay. And so anyway, I could just imagine. So it's always really wonderful to have something like that in the way articulated like that from an astronaut. And so, Kathleen, thank you for directing me to Victor, because it was really cool. So I'm going to be paying attention. I can't wait. I hope these when they come back, maybe that's when they'll do most of their interviews and we'll learn more about them. But it's pretty amazing stuff. So. Good afternoon, everyone. There's another thing too I wanted to say. That makes you feel insignificant. And if you ever seen a possum eating your trash, that also is a message to you that you're insignificant, because I don't know how many times that I have seen a possum on top of my trash can trying to dig into the trash can, and I'm like, hey! And all it does is turn around and look at me as if, like, well, you're not going to come over here and grab me because I'm a possum and you don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to sit here, look at you for a little while with my eyes that are red because it's night and you've got your dumb little iPhone flashlight on me. And I'm just going to wait until you leave. And when you leave, I'm going to go back to eating your trash. Good afternoon. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL, the 3 Martini Lunch. Stocks are kind of tumbling a tad because this Iran deadline is coming up and people are getting a little jumpy. And with the deadline approaching, the Iranians are just getting more evil. And we've got an example of that coming up on the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion.
Have you noticed mattress stores are dramatic? Final clearance, last chance, going out of business every single weekend. Relax. Snooze Mattress and Wellness is locally owned, family owned, and we don't do fake urgency. We use advanced sleep technology trusted by NASA and the Mayo Clinic to fit you to the right mattress, based on your body, not a sales quote. No gimmicks, no games, just better sleep. Snooze Mattress and Wellness. Finally, a mattress store you'll love.
Missouri's laws are clear. Unregulated gaming devices are illegal. Companies have been telling businesses that gray market machines are legal. That's wrong. Don't be scammed. If you have these devices at your business, you could be subject to criminal and civil penalties. Unplug and remove these devices today.
If you've been approached to host illegal gaming machines, call now 800-523-1434 or visit ago.mo.gov. Sponsored by the Attorney General's Office.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Colombo and Company.
Tuesday is Election Day in Missouri. Remember to get to the polls and make your voice heard. We'll discuss all the important issues, plus conversations with Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Hansen's Tree Service.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here and Ashland over there. And just one more thing about the possums. So you'd imagine after that whole little thing with the possum, the possum goes back to the possum den or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, you should have heard Allman say, "Hey!" again. He does it all the time. He thinks we're going to go. And I never do. Yeah, I wouldn't either. And then Ashton tells me that possums don't live very long, so she lets them eat her trash as a little consolation prize. You know what's crazy is as often as possums seemingly die, I never see a dead possum anywhere. So they must go to like some kind of possum pasture and just lay there. Because normally you'd think if they die every 3 years, like she said they have a 3-year lifespan, you'd think they'd be all over the joint, you know what I'm saying? But never see them. So, it must be going someplace. Yeah, the babies, Julie, the babies are cute. But you never see baby possums too often because aside from being badasses when they're eating trash, they won't let you near their babies. So, I think I remember seeing baby possums like in the zoo or something. I don't know. Good afternoon, everyone. So, all right, this is what's happening here, and this is happening in Iran. And I don't really know. I can't really tell you much about this deadline because I don't really know what it is. I mean, I know it's kind of like I don't know what's going to happen. And then when President Trump said, "Well, you know, this deadline's going to happen, and then it'll be the end of civilization," I'm thinking, okay, like what is that? What is that eventually going to mean? So it's really pretty crazy. But we do know what apparently the Iranians are doing, and the Iranians, first of all, are no longer doing direct talks, but they are doing back channel discussions, if that's the correct term for what they're doing. The Israelis, in the meantime, today have obliterated 8 more bridges. The ones the liberals seem to really be protective of. Why are you bombing bridges during a war? It's like, what? How is it that the liberals suddenly decided that bridges are off limits in wartime? Golly, I mean, that's like the dumbest thing. That was like one of the first questions what President Trump was asked about. I was like, well, what about the bombing of that bridge? It's like, no kidding. Watch Israel bomb a ton more. Now, it also turns out, and this is really pretty bad, and this is barbaric to a certain degree. So what's happening is they're using children, young children, everything else, and they're making them stand around these power plants and also the key infrastructure sites. So Iran's Deputy Minister for Youth Affairs and Secretary of the Supreme Youth Council. Can you believe these guys? How do they come up with these idiot names? And they're attacking President Trump for his flowery language about ending civilization. Aren't these the rivers of blood flowing through the gutters or whatever people? Aren't they always the ones who are talking about, I mean, they're the most dramatic people on the planet. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Iran's Deputy Minister for Youth Affairs and Secretary of the Supreme Youth Council, well, he ought to be incinerated soon, has brazenly called on young people, athletes, artists, students, and professors to gather around the nation's power plants at 2 p.m. Local time. And they're dubbing it the Iran's Youth Human Chain for a Bright Future. Can you believe this? You'll form a human chain. Well, and then what'll happen? I mean, this is just really disgusting. Of course, now, what's going to happen when there's video of it, too. There's video out there. Iranians are already gathering en masse around key sites. Videos on social media show crowds forming human chains at power plants nationwide, with state media saying it's a show of solidarity. And I'm looking at video and pictures and everything else of these people all all surrounding these power plants and things like that. It's really super, super sad. And I'm assuming that they think that the power plants and those places are going to be the next stop for the American forces and how they're going to do that. So I'm thinking that maybe at this point there's going to be a situation where they do. But, this is what they do all the time. They use their children. They use the civilians as cover. They were doing that in Israel. And at some point, and of course, you do realize that some of the Israeli hostages were kept in UN schools and things like that have since been dismantled, thank goodness. They were dismantled under the first Trump administration. Biden rekindled them again, and President Trump dismantled them again. But they hid these people in schools, which is why when they talked about the Iranian school children, those were some of those were people who were being used as human shields because down below the ground there was yet another bunker. That happens all the time. So what does that have to tell you about these prehistoric figures, these terrorists, these criminals that the news media, for the most part, is defending? They've moved on from murderous, rapey, illegal aliens to half a century old terrorists. It's unbelievable. I'm telling you, Rahm Emanuel, who is looks like he might be running for president, whatever, and he's going to try to adopt that 90s Democrat vibe, because in the 90s, the Democrats were kind of closed border guys, tough on crime, all that kind of stuff. Rahm Emanuel is saying that the Democrat Party has absolutely lost his way. And I'm not even quite sure that what's going to be necessary is not really a reformulation of the Democrat Party, but basically a shunning of the people who are ruining it, which would be the news media and a lot of your late night television hosts and all these people in Minnesota and everything else. And it can happen because, listen, the Democrats, if they take any notes from the Republicans, they saw how we as conservatives, and I'm talking about real conservatives, right? People who are common sense conservatives, how we managed to reformulate the party and cast out the Bushes of the world and all of the usual suspects who were just simply globalists and other people like that, and we took the steering wheel away from them. The Democrats can do that too, but they're going to have to do a lot of fumigating and a lot of soul searching in order to kind of change it around for themselves. I never did get to Burchett and this deal about the aliens. I'm surprised it's not getting more attention, especially since a sitting congressman is basically saying, yep, they're like mating alien biological matter with kidnapped busboys. Not kidding you. But maybe that's something for tomorrow. All right, you guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Ashlyn, thank you so much. I'll be live from Jefferson City tomorrow. Coming up next, Tony Colombo and Company. This is Common Sense Radio.
Game day comfort steps up to the plate Saturday, April 11th, when the Cardinals face the Boston Red Sox downtown. That night, fans can score a Cardinals dugout hoodie presented by Mercy, built for cool nights, late innings, and early season baseball. It's a classic, easy-to-wear layer you'll reach for all year long. Available in medium or extra large Wall Supplies Lab.